Could you just imagine what Abraham was doing during those 3 days? What must have been going through his mind so that when they get to the Mount of Moriah, Abraham has such confidence that he tells his men, hang out here, me and my boy are going to go worship and we're going to come back. How did he have such faith in the Lord that he was willing to communicate, there is without a shadow of a doubt in my mind that God is going to save my son? It must have been because Abraham, those 3 days, was rehearsing and meditating on and remembering the covenant promises of God. I don't see any other way for him to demonstrate the faith that he demonstrates. He must have been in those 3 days of walking, playing over the tapes in his mind of Genesis chapter 15, where God cuts the covenant with Abraham and God goes through the pieces alone. Basically, God committing to Abraham, if you don't keep your end of the bargain, I'm going to multiply you and make you a great nation, or I'll give my life. And if I fail to keep my end of the bargain to multiply you and make you a great nation, then I'm going to give my life. In other words, Abraham, even though I'm not committed to do this, I'm going to take both sides of the covenant onto myself. If you don't keep your end, I'll give my life. If I don't keep my end, I'll give my life. And it's really at that moment that Abraham the light came on. He really began to get it. Okay, I can trust the Lord. And so I can just imagine Abraham fueling his heart, preaching the gospel to himself, bringing him to a place in which he could step out in faith and do what God had called him to do. And the reason I belabor that point is because it's tempting when you read this Old Testament story to think, wow, look at Abraham's courage. Look at how amazing his character is. But this story is not about the courage and the character of Abraham. This story is about the covenant and the faithfulness of the Lord. It was not Abraham's courage that took him up the mountain. It was Abraham's faith in the promises of God. And in your life, when you find difficulties and you face challenging circumstances, maybe you get a bad diagnosis from the doctor, maybe something happens with your child at school, it will not be your character that helps you to persevere and take the next step forward. It will be your faith and the covenant promises of God. It will be you rehearsing like Abraham rehearsed. If he who did not spare to give his own son, he who gave his only son, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? If I can trust God to pay the penalty for my salvation, then why would I not trust God in this problem that I have with my child or this problem I've got with my finances? It's not your courage that takes you to the next step of faith. It is your trust and abiding faith in the covenant promises of God that takes you to the next level in your